Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Kindness Advantage. I am your host, Rowe, and in 10 minutes or less, we explore ways to bring kindness into every corner of your life. Last week, if you joined me, we talked about belonging, feeling seen, valued, feeling like you can be yourself. And if belonging is the feeling, inclusion is the action. So, we are going to talk about inclusion this week on the podcast because it is one thing to say everyone belongs, but it's another to make sure that everyone actually feels included. So, we're talking about kindness and inclusion, what inclusion really means, why it matters, and how each and every one of us can create it every single day. Are you ready with me, folks? And we've heard a lot in the past few years about inclusion, and some people, seem to roll their eyes or think that it is maybe just a buzzword and it's going to be gone in, a few weeks or a few years. But honestly, I feel like most of us can relate with the need to feel included, right? So I want you to think about, have you ever really been the new person? You have. A new employee, the new student, the new neighbor, the person who walks into a room where everyone already seems to know each other. It's amazing how quickly we notice whether or not we're included. Someone who can make eye contact, someone says hello, someone pulls up a chair, and suddenly everything changes. You feel safer, maybe even a little bit more relaxed, maybe connected. That's inclusion, right? That's how we make people feel like they belong. Belonging is the feeling, inclusion is the action. And there is science that goes behind this. Researchers have found that social exclusion activities, many of the same brain regions associate with physical pain. I mean, really think about that. Our brains literally experience exclusion as a threat. No wonder it hurts to feel left out, And on the flip side, feeling included actually improves our emotional well being, engagement, confidence, and our performance. There was a study that found that employees who feel included are significantly more engaged, more innovative, and more likely to contribute their ideas. And why? Why would that be? Well, if you've been tuning in here for a while, you probably have an idea, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, just in case, you got a little, brain blockage, a little brain fog today. People feel safe. Yes, when people feel safe, they participate. Psychological safety, it's no joke. It's for real. Like when people feel safe and trusted, they want to participate. And when they don't, when they feel excluded, they withdraw. It is really as I just shared, our natural human instinct. If we feel excluded, we are going to feel withdrawn. And I want to get this out here too. Like, inclusion is not about being perfect. Some people might hear the word inclusion and immediately become nervous. But what if I say the wrong thing? What if I accidentally offend someone? What if I don't know enough? Here's the good news. Inclusion isn't about perfection, it's about intention. Most people don't ever expect perfection. They like the effort, they appreciate effort. And inclusion begins with curiosity, not assumptions, not expertise, curiosity. There's a quote I found by Verna Myers, and it says, "Diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance." I love that. I really do. I mean, it makes perfect sense. it illustrates the difference. Belonging says you're welcome here. Inclusion says we want you to participate. Kindness helps bridge that gap. So I want to share a little story with you. So last year, I decided I was going to host a girls' night out, and I want to make it a yearly event. And it was a theme party, because who doesn't like a theme? And I invited many different friend groups. I mean, I'm talking college friends, I'm talking work friends, I'm talking my widow group, I'm talking my divorce group, I'm talking, just people I've met networking, and other just regular social friends, my neighbors. So a lot of these people didn't really know each other. Yet last year, I don't even know, maybe 20, 25 women at my house. And instead of having segments, I mean, we did at times, don't get me wrong, because, when you're at a party, you gravitate to the people you know. But the cool part is everybody started interconnecting. And that's exactly what this podcast episode is about, right? Being invited to the party, but yet being asked to dance, right? We want you to participate, and that is kindness. I want you to think about a last meeting, maybe a gathering or a family event. Who spoke the most? Who spoke the least? Who seemed comfortable? Or who seemed like very quiet? Because kindness noticed those things, right? Inclusion acts on them. And maybe it sounds like, what do you think? Or we haven't heard from you yet. Or I'd love your perspective. Those small invitations can completely change someone's experience. And if they're introverted or a little shy, they may be like, oh, it's okay. Like, especially like in a party setting. But even if they don't choose to participate, they still feel included. Do you get me? I hope so. So, of course, I have 3 ways to practice inclusion, because I really like tangible takeaways for all my podcast episodes. So why would I change it this time? Number 1, expand the circle. When you're talking with a group, look around, who isn't included yet? Who might be standing alone? Who hasn't been invited into the conversation? Kindness does not build the walls. It actually builds the bridges. And number 2, so important, learn people's names. It sounds really simple, but hearing your name creates an immediate sense of recognition and respect. And Dale Carnegie once said, a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest and most important sound in any language. People want to feel known, and names matter. I say this all the time. In fact, I was just a volunteer at the Ironman in my community. We had it on Sunday, and there was I feel over 2,000 participants, right? And I was at a beverage station. So when the runners were coming through, we'd yell out electrolytes or whatever we were serving, cola, water, whatever they needed. And we would hold it in our hand lightly at the bottom so they could grab it. And some of the athletes had their name written on it. And so if I saw it, I'd be like, way to go, Sherry, or you got this, Bob. And you would just see their smile. So I was very good at cheering people on. I love it. It was a lot of fun. Maybe you can tell from my voice. I maybe did a little bit too much yelling, but I was like this one gentleman. He was kind of, going slow, which do you blame them? I mean, 70.1 miles, and that's swimming, biking, and running. And so we're seeing them on their final leg of this thing. he's like, struggling. I'm like, you got this. You are amazing. And he goes, me? I'm like, you. And then he's like, thank you so much, Cindy. And I was like, I forgot I had a name badge. And he saw it and he said it. And I felt amazing, and I wasn't even participating. So using names, learning people's names matter. We love to hear our name, right? And number 3, get curious instead of assuming. And this is hard, I think, for adults, right? We come with baggage, and we come with experience, and we come with thoughts. But, when someone has a different experience, opinion, background, or perspective, we really just need to get curious. Ask questions, learn to listen and actually learn from whatever they're speaking about. Inclusion grows when we seek understanding rather than judgment. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to repeat it for those in the back. I'm going to repeat it for those that are multitasking. Inclusion grows when we seek understanding rather than judgment. Okay, time for a reality check. We all exclude people sometimes, and maybe it's not intentionally, but unintentionally, we might forget to invite somebody. We may overlook someone in a conversation. We stay with the people we know, and that is human. The goal isn't guilt. I want you to see this as awareness, because awareness creates change. Awareness creates change. So why does inclusion matter right now? And I think maybe you can all agree with me. We live in a world where many people feel very isolated, and loneliness continues to rise. Polarization continues to rise. People are hungry for connection, and I experience this all the time. Like, my awareness to this has been heightened, I would say, in the last month. Kindness gives us that opportunity to create it, to create that connection, not through the grand gestures, but through everyday moments. A welcome, an invitation, a conversation in the checkout line. I shared that with you a couple weeks ago. Or a seat at the table. At the heart of inclusion is a simple belief that everyone matters, everyone deserves dignity, everyone deserves kindness, and everyone deserves the opportunity to feel seen, heard, and valued. Not because they earned it, but because they're human. So this week, I want you to look for one opportunity to include someone. Invite someone into the conversation. Ask for someone's perspective. Pull up another chair. Send the invite. Expand your circle. Belonging is the feeling, but inclusion is something we create. And every act of kindness makes it possible. Listen, folks, if this episode resonated with you, if you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend and subscribe, and leave me a comment, because I read them and I want to learn from you too. I want to remind you that kindness isn't just about being nice. Oh God, it's not. It's about making sure nobody gets left standing outside the circle. And together, we create waves of change through kindness. Thanks for tuning in.